Tales abound of businesses around the world being misled about the effectiveness of their PR activity, especially corporate PR, which is harder to measure than, say, a product launch. Good PR matches the media to the target client persona, and so it avoids waste. It may have been easier in the days before the internet and thousands of TV channels, but with the world of media constantly changing, I totally believe that intelligent matching of the right media to the client is vital. I did say intelligent matching, which is why I chose to ask my deeper dive questions to a true exponent, the Managing Director of Oggadoon PR, Caroline Macdonald. Thanks for this deeper dive meeting, Caroline.
Thank you, Malcolm, for inviting me.
Lovely, always lovely to talk to you. I said in my opening piece that client to media matching, in my mind, is vital. Do you agree? And if so, why?
Yeah, it's an absolute given that you need to do that. Otherwise, how do you know if you're speaking to the right audiences? How do you know where they're actually going to be? You could be speaking into a very competitive place and you're just creating noise and fluff for the fact that it won't actually give you a return.
Have you seen a shift in PR spend focus, say, away from printed media like newspapers and magazines to social media such as podcasts and this videocast? If so, are clients themselves seeing the value of such a shift?
So the trend's been around for quite some time, with the digital explosion for media. And in some circumstances, the traditional media, such as newspapers and the printed magazines, are a little bit on catch up for it. So yes, it is definitely going that way, and certainly clients can see the value in it because they can see how much they can reuse it, how far it can go. Printed media, it has that 24-hour viability to it, whereas media that goes through digital means has that instant exposure, but also has longevity to it, and that really counts for results for clients. And as you can see, a lot of the print media are actually having to change their models and develop more that is online for it and develop niche elements to it as well. So the trend is all there.
Yeah, like we're trying to do with our channels here, help people increase visibility, but also a prospective customer can see more clearly if you're going to be a right fit for them as well. So how at Oggadoon do you go about doing your matchmaking for a client?
So there's three elements that we look at. The first one is what sector or sectors are you selling into? The second one, what sector do you occupy? The third one is about the leader, the founder, whoever they may be for it. Some of this is now what we're looking at evergreen PR and evergreen content. Some of it is really specific to a campaign. Occasionally it goes across all three sectors. Sometimes it's just specific to one, but for all of those, we look and we research and identify the media that is right for those three elements to it. And according to the business objectives of what we're brought in to do, we look to leverage one of those at each turn or consecutively, so that we understand that we're going out to the right media. We develop the relationship between that client brand and that media, as opposed to us. We tend to try and make sure we move out the way a little bit because they can then go on with that relationship thereafter.
Excellent. Now, what are the top 3 or 4 mistakes that clients make about what we may call new media?
Number one, that's easy. That you just, it's an easy thing to do. It might be in terms of technical, but it's not in terms of the whole production of it. And that leads into the second one, which is people don't prepare. They don't prepare, they don't realise that it's as important as a printed interview. In fact, it's more important because being on a podcast or on internet TV like this, there is no necessary re-recording or let's just redo that answer. You've got to be absolutely savvy and on point with your messaging. And the third one is the fact that they tend to forget it's going to be public. And it's going to be public for quite some time. The days of the printed press where, it was tomorrow's chip paper have long gone. Things hang around a long time. So you need to be aware of that. And the fourth one is that, again, because it's digital, they expect instant results from it. And again, that doesn't necessarily happen. It can do, and we are joyful when it does, but you've got to be prepared for that longer haul.
Yeah, clients are taking longer to make decisions these days, aren't they? They're getting the immediacy, but they're taking longer to make that decision. They want to find the right fit, otherwise it's going to be a risk or a loss. Obviously, I'm biased towards video niches, like we're doing now here on our Deeper Dive TV. And I've interviewed CEOs and MDs around the world in all types of sectors. But can such media work for both B2B and B2C clients, business to business, business to consumer clients? Or do you need to segment even further?
Well, the trend, as I think we're all aware of, is going down personalisation. Personalisation of the media and how you interact with your end customer. If that's a business customer, it is slightly easier in terms of you don't have to do such deep dive of personalisation. If it's B2C, it does need to be. But when you look at the way that social media is being consumed, how that is segmenting, how that is personalising, and how brands are starting to capitalise on that sort of natural emergence, it's inevitable that there's going to be further segmentation that will occur, particularly for the consumer. As we become far more digitized, and there is a lot more to go, we become more particular about what we want to see, how we want to see it, and how much it actually speaks to us.
Excellent. We totally agree with you, because we've got 9 TV channels and 9 audio podcast channels, and they're segmented down. Now, I always say that in PR, it's results that's king. So how does a typical client measure in their own mind a good result from your media matching skills?
So the most obvious one is that they see that they've got more opportunities, or sales opportunities, partnership opportunities, and then hopefully that'll lead to leads or direct sales for it. So they always look at that. That's your first nub and rub for it. Bearing in mind that you've educated them to say about the length of time that might result in it. There might be other things that come through. They get asked to be involved in other activities. That might be that they need to speak somewhere. It might be involved in a project that they're all going to be bidding for. It might be that they've got a white labelling opportunity, they've more channel partners. It could be that the decisions from their prospects goes their way, or it goes a bit quicker. So they tend to go on that sort of those sort of band of metrics. For some, it also impacts on their ego. And that's not to be egotistical. It's more about they're starting to feel really good about themselves, that the business is worthy, it's doing the right thing. They see themselves around and about a lot more. They're receiving personal comments and feedback from people. So they get that personal feel to it as well that goes against the more harder metrics.
There's nothing wrong with that ego matching, because being a leader can be lonely, and sometimes you need that little bit of encouragement that you see of yourself now. Okay, it's crystal ball time. In 5 years or more, how do you see your media matching activity changing to meet client needs?
So harking back to a previous answer, there's absolutely going to be more personalisation coming in. I think it's going to be more expected that you have defined and specified the media that they would be interested in. In terms of when you're doing a pitch, I think just going for your tier 1 is not going to cut the mustard, because there's no more of those real personal relationships with tier 1, because it's quite fast moving. There might be a few, but they tend to not be there for after a couple of years or so. Also, the fact that the rise of niche media would have continued, and we'll then be looking at clients and audiences who perhaps aren't as accustomed to reading or getting information from tier 1 national broad-based publications or media outlets. They're looking at the more defined ones where their audiences hang out, or where their speciality is with it. So I think there'll be also, in this matchmaking aspect of it, is building up the relationship with the direct audience to create that niche, so that you are able to use that media but also bring people to your own and be able to engage them directly, which is where you can bring in more of the personalization of it. So in all of this, there's going to be some winners and losers in the media spectrum for it. But I think they will understand how important this is to come in and be part of the overall mix in terms of continuing to create new markets or to create new customer bases.
Caroline Macdonald, MD of Oggadoon, thanks for this deeper dive into media matchmaking. I knew you would be a great choice for such an interview. Thank you.
Thank you.